Hello everyone, this is Solomon of Solomonic Demons, and today we're gonna be talking about cheap guitars. We're gonna be talking about guitars made here in the USA, about guitars that are made in China, Japan, Korea, or Indonesia. I'm gonna tell you guys my opinion if it is worth it to start playing with a real expensive guitar, or if it is worth it to start playing with an inexpensive guitar. We're gonna also be restringing my Kramer Assault Plus. We're gonna be putting new strings to this guitar, like I said. We're also gonna be polishing the frets, and we're gonna change the tuning of the guitar to drop C. Right now the guitar is on E standard, and I have to review this guitar. For this, we're gonna put some Ornaments 1052 strings on it, and yeah. So, what do I mean with cheap guitars? I mean, these gotta be low-cost guitars, right? For example, my Kramer Assault, I think that the guitar new was around $700. But this guitar was getting discontinued when I got it from the store, so I got it for really cheap. That's the way I gotta say. I got this guitar for around $4.99, so for me it was cheap, I think, because the guitar was new. Kramer was discontinuing this guitar. It has been trying to discontinue this guitar for a while because they changed it to the banana headstock. So I got a good deal, so I got it for cheap, right? And this guitar is made in Indonesia, and guitars made in Indonesia usually range the prices of the guitars from $200 to $2,000. That's what I have seen. If you guys have seen guitars made in Indonesia that are more expensive, please let me know in the comments. Obviously, this guitar, I'm talking about guitars that are production guitars, not costume guitars. Like this one, this is a production guitar, right? So these things have locking toners, as you guys can see. So let me share with you guys my story. I've been playing guitar since 2004, and my first guitar was it wasn't Premier, it was Primer, and that was a copy of a Fender Stratocaster that I got it for $120. This is back all the way back to 2004. This guitar for me was amazing, like that's all what I want for me. And everything that I was listening in the radio back then was Nirvana, was Alice in Chains, and I remember that the only thing that I wanted was to play the songs that they used to play, and that was my main purpose. The guitar was very cheap. Honestly, at the beginning, I didn't even care where the guitar was made. Obviously, the guitar was made in China. I didn't care what woods the guitar was made from. Until this day, I don't know what woods they used to use on that guitar. But I was really happy with it. So that's where I learned how to make a power chord. That's how I learned the first songs that I learned on the guitar. That I remember that it was It Smells Like Teen Spirit, I think, and a couple of songs of Obvious Lay, because Obvious Lay was everything back then for me too, and yeah, I mean, that was everything that I want. What's the difference between a cheap guitar or a level entry model from any brand like Kramer, Gibson, ESP, Jackson? All brands have level entry models, level entry versions on their models, if we can say it that way. For example, ESP Eclipse, the most expensive one gonna be the ESP Eclipse made here in the USA. Then you have a E2 Eclipse, right? Then you have the LTD brand. From the LTD, the most expensive variation of the Eclipse is the 1000 or the Deluxe. Then you have the 400, then you have the 250s. The less expensive right now is the 10 series. And obviously the prices go from $200 all the way to $4,000, $5,000, depending which ESP USA are you getting, right? And obviously the guitars are not the same. Same thing with Gibson and Epiphone. A Gibson Les Paul standard or our Epiphone Les Paul standard. Even if they share the same woods in the build-up of the guitar, they have different electronics, they have a different hardware, and most of the times, for my own experience, the most expensive guitar, the guitar made here in the USA, or in case of Ibanez, for example, the guitars made in Japan, not the guitars made in Indonesia, feel better. So what does it make a cheap guitar? I mean, the guitar gotta be made here in the USA to be expensive, and a guitar gotta be made on China to be cheap, or in a different country. Okay, so if we talk about prices on the guitars, depending where they are made, obviously the cheapest guitars that you're gonna find in Amazon or almost anywhere are either made in Vietnam, China, or India, right? And then the follow-up gonna be Indonesia, and then if it is a little bit more expensive, they're gonna be made in Korea. Then we go for the second most expensive ones that are either made in Japan. The question for me is if it is really worth it. I mean, if it really makes a difference or no. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but I know about this brand called Eastman, and I had the opportunity to play a Eastman guitar on the past, and those guitars made a really close version in their own way of the Gibson Les Paul standard for a little bit cheaper, right? Those guitars are made in China, but those guitars are not cheap. Those guitars are above $1,000, and I guess the most expensive of their guitars that they have are almost $2,000 or more. If I haven't checked their website in a while, but I know that their guitars are expensive, and they are made in China. And like I said, for my experience and for other people that I have talked about it, the guitars are really well made. So why is that every time that we think about a cheap guitar, we think about an imported guitar, especially made in China, like I said, Vietnam, Indonesia, or We live in 2023. We don't live anymore in 2008, the time that I start playing. So, like I said, we have brands like Eastman these days. We have really good knockups, really good guitars made in Korea by new brands made in Indonesia, like Chapman, like Solar. And these guitars are nothing if we compare them with the guitars that Korea used to make 35 years ago, or Indonesia used to make 20 years ago when they started making guitars en masse. You know, these guitars feel better. These guitars feel better. These guitars look better. And for small brands, sometimes the guitars even look unique or have unique specifications. That's the point that I'm trying to get with this video, that you can get an extraordinary instrument sometimes if you decide to get the known brand. Like if you decide to invest in a new brand. If you're gonna get a guitar right now because you want to start playing guitar and the guitar is less than $200, don't go for the big brand, don't get a Squire. If your budget is $200, don't get a Squire. There is alternatives over there. I mean, honestly, don't get a Squire Bullet. The guitar is not good enough if we compare it to a Harley Benton guitar. Harley Bentons are a little bit better. Now, I can talk about the Indonesian-made Harley Benton guitars, but don't get a Squire. Get an Epiphone. Epiphone are made in China, but they have their own factory in China, so the guitars are a little bit more reliable in quality. Fender don't have a factory in China, so getting a Squire is not reliable at all. Until these days, those guitars, unless they are the ones that are made in Indonesia, don't make the cut for me. Same thing for Ibanez Geo. I mean, if the Ibanez Geo you're gonna get are made in China, don't get it. Guitars are very, very poor quality. Let's define cheap. If right now you are in the studio with another guitar player, and for example, you are playing my Kramer right now, and the other guy have a Gibson Les Paul custom once again. Well, you are playing the cheap guitar, right? But is this a cheap guitar? No, this is a really good instrument. This is a high quality instrument for me. This is a professional instrument. So it might be cheap, obviously, in price if we compare it to a Gibson Les Paul custom. And I'm talking about very nice Gibson Les Paul custom, a black one. Obviously, the Gibson Les Paul custom gonna be the high quality instrument there, not just the most expensive one. But that doesn't mean that my Kramer is not worth it just because it's $700, or like I said, I bought it for less new. It's just that also it doesn't mean that if I am in the studio and the other guitar player have the Gibson Les Paul custom on it and we are recording our best album, it doesn't mean that the other guy gonna play better than me only because he have the Gibson Les Paul custom. The better guitar player gonna be the one that have a better technique, the one that plays more, and you don't need the most expensive guitar in the world to be the best guitar player. I mean, a lot of guitar players have started their careers, a lot of big ones have started their careers with cheap guitars. That's how they have discovered their talent, their passion for music, you know? And obviously, like I said, you need an instrument that at least holds tune to play. If we talk about inexpensive guitars, something that I always tell to anybody is try to buy it in person because it's always good to try the instrument. You know, even if you can play it for a couple of minutes in the store, that is gonna be a big difference. Now, if you have the money, I mean, if you're gonna get a $2,000 instrument or above, you might have a bad experience if you buy it online, but the quality control of those instruments are better than the ones that are less expensive. If we keep comparing guitars, like I said, like a Gibson Les Paul Custom or an Epiphone Les Paul Custom, the quality control that the Gibson Les Paul Custom gonna have is not the same quality control that the Epiphone Les Paul Custom gonna have. Luckily, these days we have a lot of nice instruments, a very accessible instruments. I always recommend the Kramer Barretta Specials. Like I said, those guitars are under $200. And if you can find an Indonesian made, that's maybe the cheapest entry level guitar that you can find, that it is a really good quality instrument. It is not perfect, it's not the best quality, but it's a guitar that stays on tune, that have very good electronics on it. And you know, for a beginner it's very good, and for anyone that is already an advanced player that wanna upgrade a guitar, it is really good too. And I'm talking about the Indonesian made once again, because the Chinese made ones are a deception. And but there is also alternatives out there. Like I said in the past, Harley Benton's Indonesian made are really good guitars too. If you guys never have tried the Michael Kelly brand, that is the brand from Samesh. If you guys find a Korean Michael Kelly or an Indonesian made Michael Kelly, those guitars are really good made too. And those guitars are cheap. So you can find really good instruments on a really good price that are that can be used as a professional instrument. So that was my opinion. Thank you so much for being with me while I was restringing this guitar. Hopefully I can make the review of the Kramer Assault Plus. I know that this guitar was discontinued already, but I wanna tell you guys why I got this one, why I prefer this one over the new models that Kramer have. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Please share, like, and subscribe. Take care, bye.